everyone. We have a little plea before we begin our podcast, right, Rachel?
Yes.
If you are listening on the various podcast platforms, especially iTunes, or you happen to be watching on YouTube, that's the only way you can see what Rachel Santizo looks like.
Thank you.
And she is a beautiful lady, so you might want to switch over to YouTube just to see what Rachel looks like. Anyway, I digress. If you are listening, especially on iTunes, we'd like you to rate us. You can tell us we suck, or you love us, or anything in between, and make a comment. I mean, it's easy to press a star, either 1 or 5, hopefully 5.
Right.
But take a little time and tell us what you think of the podcast.
Right, because ultimately, first, I'm very flattered. Thank you. And ultimately, we want to be the voice of the community.
Plus, Rachel's naked if you want to. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I thought that would get a lot of people.
That was really.
That'll get some viewers.
I totally forgot what
Everybody
I was going to say.
right now is looking at YouTube right now. You were saying.
I was saying.
You're turning red.
No,
your face is. I can't see the rest of you. So.
We want the voice of the community, because that's ultimately what we're here for, is to provide education and stories and things. So it's really hearing from the community so we can better our podcast, because we're really there for everyone else. So, it's not about us.
Now we begin with our official welcome. Put your clothes back on.
All right.
Welcome to Odyssey House Journals. I'm Randall Carlisle, along with Rachel Santizo, and our guest is James Ririe.
Yes.
So welcome, James.
Thank you for saying my last name right.
Well,
I didn't. So I didn't. He was like, "No."
When I worked in TV, whenever we do a story about I had the hardest time. That's why I could see you say your name right when we do the Ririe Woodbury dance company.
So you were shoo-in, you know.
And you think about that. That's hard to say. Ririe Woodbury.
So that's not fair that he got it right. Like, that's not an even playing field.
So what do you do, James? I know you're in recovery.
Yeah, I am in recovery. I currently work at Fit to Recover. I just kind of hang out. I, do the recovery thing. I'm an Odyssey graduate. If you're on YouTube, got the hat for it, got the beanie.
Wow. I didn't know we gave those out.
Yeah. So, it's actually one of my favorite beanies. It's super comfy. Graduated this year from Odyssey. Was super grateful that it was my one and only treatment center.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Most people have gone through 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10.
Not me. I guess I just didn't really try before, So
what's your background? What's your story?
So the reason I was put into treatment was because I got a felony. It was an aggravated assault. I know this pretty face doesn't look like it.
I know.
Could do anything to anybody. No, it was, that's what happened. And it kind of is a godsend that happened, like I am grateful and don't have any animosity or ill words to say about, the person that it happened with, because, the story was, I feel doctored, but it got me to where I am today, which is in recovery over a year. I don't think my life has ever been this great. I'm not saying that stuff still happens that
life happens to all of us.
Life happens, but I have the tools from Odyssey and from other programs that I use in order to keep myself on that good path. So
what was your background, your drug of choice? What happened in your life?
My drug of choice was really anything, but it all started with alcohol. It all started and ended with alcohol. What I did in between, was I did pills, I did heroin once. I actually got myself clean off of that just by myself. And then, it was Adderall, meth, and that's kind of what it was the last, 5 years was just a lot of Adderall, a lot of meth, and just drinking, smoking.
I can relate.
You can relate to that.
I was a functional alcoholic for decades and now I've been over 10 years clean.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Same with Rachel.
Yeah.
And she was a heroin addict. I mean, so And recovery is wonderful, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing.
We
It's
all
amazing.
have clear eyes and clear heads.
I know. We get to wake up at 7 a.m. and not be upset about what we did the night before. Or we get to wake up at 7
trying
a.m.
to get
actually.
our next fix because I'm sick.
My mom told me the other day, my 95-year-old mom is still alive.
She's
she said, I don't feel so good this morning. And I have like a headache and like a dry mouth and I feel sort of shaky and everything. I said, Mom, that's the way I felt every morning I woke up for decades.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. And people don't realize that people in addiction, I don't think there's anybody who's happy that they're addicted to something.
No.
I mean, you might have a brief moment of happiness when you're high or something and think this is great, but the rest of it surrounding it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it worked until it didn't, It was great when it worked, but it didn't work for a lot of years, but it was my only solution.
And I think there's a point too where you use just so you're not sick anymore. You just don't want to be sick. So you're just trying to maintain and get by.
Exactly.
At least that was my story.
Yeah.
I mean, mine was just, almost that, except, I mean, I think I was just escaping myself. You know?
But what does that mean to you? Why were you trying to escape yourself?
I grew up in the LDS Church and had all these beliefs in my head of like what I should be, what I shouldn't be. And, coming from a background of like, I was baptized in the Mormon Church, and I didn't believe those ideals that were put in my head. And a lot of the problem with that is because, I am gay, and that kind of super conflicts with that. Like,
it's tough being gay in the LDS Church, right?
Yeah. And so,
it's okay to be gay, but don't act out.
Exactly. And that's what it was. It was like, I was told to read a scripture and all would be fixed. And that's really when my use, I had drank a couple times before that. No, had I? No, that's really when it just started. I was like, well, if this can't help me, then I know what will, or I'm going to try this, or, I remember the first time I drank, I was 15, it was Taka vodka, and I drank in a park, with my one friend, and she just like watched me. And then, the second or third time I drank, I blacked out. Like,
wow.
I was,
And I love that you're gay. Like,
Me too.
It matches you. It matches you. Like, I couldn't imagine you any other way. Like, it's you.
Yeah.
Tell me about Fit to Recover. So what is that, and what do you do?
So Fit to Recover is it's a community center as well as like a community that has 4 pillars of what what we do. It's service, creative arts, fitness, and nutrition. Thank you, Rachel.
I work there too.
I haven't had coffee yet, so I'm like, my mind is still trying to fire.
Well, we work together.
Yeah. And I'm like it's amazing to work there. And Rachel started just after me, and I think that she was a great addition to the team. We have this really strong team now where we just went through Giving Tuesday, and I feel like it went I don't know what it went like before, but I feel it was seamless. Like, I was expecting chaos and like just blowing up everywhere and everyone crying and yelling at each other. And, it was like for what it was a super calm, collected, cool day. And
it was a lot of dancing. It was fun.
Yes.
And we used to call Fit to Recover Utah's only sober gym. Is it still?
Yeah, but we don't say sober anymore. It's recovery. And we're more a center now, because when we say gym, then it takes away from the services that we do. And we don't want to say sober, because that means you're completely abstinent.
But you do work with people like Odyssey House. People come over
absolutely
and get physical exercise while they're in recovery.
Yeah,
right?
And mental health.
Yes, and they also do Odyssey Parents does nutrition stuff with us too.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's so cute. They come with their babies.
Yeah.
They work out one week, and the next week they do nutrition. They cook food, and they just blast music, and they're the cutest group.
That's cool, because they fix their own food for their Huh. And go ahead. No,
I wanted to talk a little bit too.
Don't ever talk over me again.
Randall.
This $100,000 a year job is going away very quickly, Rachel.
Anyways, no, just kidding. So we also have some specialty groups, but I'd like you to speak about that because we started a new one.
Yeah.
So specialty, as far as we go into cats, we're going to be going into the prison. We have an all women's, but we have a new one.
Yeah.
Let's speak about it.
It is the LGBTQ plus group, which we've kind of started. At first, we wanted to call it that just so that we kind of could differentiate it from like, you know, it's not just a normal workout for everyone to come to. Like, you know, we want to we create a safe space for everyone, but we're trying to also create safe spaces for, like Rachel said, women and now, you know, the LGBTQ plus community. And so we're starting to call it the Pride workout.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then we also have a support group after that. You know, it's recovery related. It's not like we don't go off of like AA kind of thing or anything like that. It's just about, you know, we support each other in our recovery and just talk about whatever, you know. It just kind of every time I went, it just flows really well. And we just talk about the issues we have in our daily lives.
And I think it was cool. Last week, they talked about the shooting that happened at the nightclub.
Okay.
Yeah, in Colorado. Right?
And so, and how it affected them and stuff. And so when this first came out, I was like, can I go to this class? Because I just want to be supportive of my people. Right.
Yeah.
But it really is tailored to if you identify as that, because then it doesn't take away from the class and what they're trying to do. So I'm no longer invited, but I did go once.
Yeah.
Once, but
it makes sense because then it's that safe space for them to be relatable with what's going on.
And I mean, if you know, someone's scared of coming their first time because it's their first time fit to recover at all, then yeah, bring a friend that's an ally. We love that, but it's just not something that, you know, is a continued thing. Like if that's what gets them in there, we love that. And then, you know, once they feel safe after that, yeah.
You brought up the growing up LDS and being gay, and I am amazed at the number of people in treatment programs who have that exact same story.
Really?
And the high rate of suicide in the LGBTQ plus community, and substance use to I guess numb yourself to the crap that you have to put up with, or the feelings that you have.
The majority of our unsheltered youth, it's either mental health or the way they identify as being gay or transgender. Oh yeah.
How do we solve that?
That's a good question. I think that's something that I believe is continuing to happen, is having resources for that. I know the Pride Center has amazing resources and like amazing youth programs as well as adult programs, but you know, I kind of felt also at Odyssey, I kind of felt like the odd person out because a lot of people, I mean, I've been to jail, I've, you know, done all those things, and I fit in that way. But, you know, I think there was only one other person when I was leaving treatment, like just graduating, that identified as, you know, in the LGBTQ community.
Did you face, even though this is called Odyssey House Journals, and you can be honest, did you face prejudice or any kind of bad treatment because you're gay?
Oh, no, not at Odyssey, no.
No?
It just still felt...
Did the whole house know you were gay?
Oh, yeah. I can't hide it very well. Like, I'm pretty sure most people know when they meet me, and that's fine. But I did not feel like I was, you know, judged or prejudiced or anything like that at Odyssey, but I didn't feel like there was anyone else like me there, if that makes sense. You know, like... I could still relate to everyone on most levels, but there was still that like one level where I felt, you know, I was being heard and listened to and validated, but no one else kind of knew what it was like.
It's kind of like those demographics, right? Like when we do surveys, like did being Black affect you? Did being gay affect you? Like it's those questions so you can have those specialties so that you can have that support. System. And I think it's really cool. I just want to point out that you went to a place where there's people that come from prison, people that come from the streets, and being gay, and we get that commonality. Like when you go to treatment or you go to Odyssey, that we're all in it together regardless of all that. So not having that person next to you, you know, that can be fully relatable, but how cool is it that you can come from all these different backgrounds to come together? Like that's pretty powerful.
Because you're all working on one thing.
Yeah. There's always that one common thread, which, binds us together. And I think that's amazing because some of those people I don't think I would have ever talked to, whether, you know, in my whole entire life, but they were my peers and we helped each other through some really like good assignments, whether that be feedback or just, you know, those weekly phone calls where you just have to call people and, you know, it's really hard to pick up that phone. But after Odyssey, it's so much easier to like pick up that phone and just reach out for help.
What was I work with so many parents who have adult kids who are either out on the street in behind bars or in treatment, and they always want to know. And so I always ask this: what was the one thing that prompted you to find recovery? I mean, was there you know, that's a really good question. I really like the question because nobody has a perfect answer, but
so a lot of people say you can't get sober for anyone but yourself, you know, and I do believe that, but I also think that you can start out thinking or knowing that you're doing it for something else, because my sister had a baby and it was my younger sister, my baby sister, which there's a lot of stuff around that, you know, when I was using, like me and my sister, I don't know why it was a lot with me and my little sister, but it's just probably because we're closer in age. She had a baby and I knew that if I kept living my life the way I was living it, I would not be in that baby's life. And that was not something that I was willing to deal with. And so I got sober for my little niece, Raina.
Wow. And I'm smiling. And the reason why is because the way that he talks and the way that he's in his niece's life, like I get to see the bright side of that. And so his tears make me smile, because if we don't go through the tears, then we're not going to create
they're
that
happy
change.
Tears. They're happy tears for sure.
And then he was working out with his mom. Like his mom was at the gym. So it's like when I get to see this, I'm like, because you need to cry. You need to feel the emotions that we've been running from. So I smile when people cry. I'm smiling when you cry, James.
Well, and I got the opportunity of, you know, I think it was, it wasn't even like 2 months into my treatment. My sister asked me if I would be a nanny for my niece. And so I got the opportunity to be a nanny for my niece for like 9 months.
Wow.
And I think it was the best job I've ever had, you know.
And plus, obviously, if you were still high on whatever it was you were getting high on, she wouldn't have asked you to do that.
Correct. Yeah. So that was kind of, I cried pretty hard when she asked me to do that, because it was like, you know, it was just, I feel like it was a little God shot that, you know, like, you're not fucking up. Like, this is not going to happen. Like, you have to stay sober, and this is how you're going to do it.
Wow.
Is because you're watching a baby.
Sure.
So.
Why I have, because I think we're running out of time, but I do have a question for you. Okay. Because your phone, so we want to know how people maintain sobriety. Okay. So we see how you go through it, but maintain it. And I'm calling you out because your phone goes off constantly. So how do you maintain sobriety? Like, what works for you?
Oh, I think you already know the answer.
I do, but
so along the lines of why my phone goes off every hour because my sponsors asked me to make a decision to turn my will and my life over to a power greater than myself. And I'm not very good at doing that because I'm a control freak. And so every hour my alarm goes off and it tells me to pray and turn my life over to turn my will and my life over to a power greater than myself. And so most people, if you know, you know.
Yeah,
you know.
It's true.
So I use a 12-step program to, maintain my sobriety as well as Fit to Recover. I mean, I worked at Odyssey for a little bit and I liked it, but, Fit to Recover is more of an avenue where I'd like to be in recovery. And I really love working there because I get to see people who, just walk in the door super happy. And some people, they're going through stuff and you get to help them through those things. And
people don't realize addiction is a lifelong disease.
Yeah.
Right.
You're never cured. I mean, I have friends who say, well, gosh, if you haven't drank for 10 years, you can have a drink now.
Yeah,
and it's like, no.
It doesn't work that way.
And so you do need to work on an almost daily basis.
That's why when his alarm goes off, I brought that up because even though he's graduated Odyssey and he's done these things, that alarm still goes off. And the cool part is when it goes off, I'm like, oh, I need to do something and check myself. So it actually helps other people as well, regardless. And we have over 10 years, but I need that reminder. And so I love that part of it.
And you could, any of us tomorrow could be right back in our addiction.
Yep.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. I mean, I know that if I don't wake up and do what I have to do in the morning, my day doesn't go as well as it would if I just take that 15 minutes to do what I need to do in the morning to center myself before I walk out that door.
And I consider myself lucky because even though it's a lifelong disease, it's a controllable disease.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like you got a fatal disease. It could become fatal if you don't control it. But with control or dealing with it, you can live a nice, long, happy life.
Yeah, like that long-term management.
Yeah,
you know,
just like if you don't take your stuff for diabetes, you can lose a limb.
Exactly.
The HIV, taking your medication. It's like,
anything.
Yeah.
So what do you see in your future?
I try
crystal ball here.
Yeah, right. I try not to look too far into the future. You know, I just know that if I do what I'm supposed to do today, it'll all work out, you know, because I mean, I do have plans for the future. I want to get my GED done. I want to go back to school for something, but I haven't found that thing that I want to do yet. But I mean, obviously the first step is like getting that GED done. So.
Sure. And staying in recovery.
Yes, that's the big one. Oh, of course.
Without that, I mean, I always say that too. If I wasn't in recovery, I couldn't be doing anything. I might be dead, but you know.
Right.
So
it's true. That's why it's so worth it. I think people look for something big and shiny, right? But really it's daily. It's the little things. Like when your alarm goes off, you didn't know that you affected me, but you do. I know. So it's just like you get to like little things that matter to you that other people wouldn't understand or would take for granted. It's like, oh, I need that alarm. I actually love it. I'm like, okay, time.
Yeah, I just set it so that it doesn't go off while everyone's checking out at the noon or after the noon class. But
oh yeah, because this is the face. This is the face you will see when you walk into FDR. So definitely YouTube. Look at YouTube so you can see James's beautiful face.
Yeah. I have a video out there somewhere about what FDR has done for me for my Giving Tuesday thing.
Good.
So,
James, thank you very much for being a guest. Congratulations on your recovery and your positive outlook on life and being a nanny.
No,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. We call it a manny.
Okay.
Whatever. Rachel, it was good being with you again.
Thank you. You too, Randall.
And thank you for watching another edition of Odyssey House Journals.